This is the Y carriage, and here we've got the base plate of the carriage, two rails, some M3 by 8 flathead screws, bolts, M3 by 16 button heads, M3 by 20 button heads, M3 by 20 with a little plastic nail cap on it, some magnets, two different types, and M5 by 8 button head bolts. So I'm just going to start here by putting these rails together. Now I'm assuming that you've gone and tapped all of the holes in this part here and countersunk all of the holes in this part here. There's 10 screws that go in each of these, and we've got a 2mm Allen key fitting in this. So I'm just going to take the threaded part, center strip, and the top, and put them together like this with the countersunk holes facing up, and we'll just start putting these through. Get that first hole started first. Now don't do it up too tightly for the moment. We're going to have to sort of shape it so that it's nice and square at the end. So now there can be a slight bit of misalignment in this so that it's not quite square. So what I'm going to do is just grab a straight edge, sit that up against that, and press it against the perpendicular edge of the straight edge and the table. Now you'll notice that it might also have a bit of curvature this way. We want to make sure that that curvature isn't in there. So if we put that up against there, and that should be pretty square. You can delicately pick that up and then start really tightening these. So if we gun sight it, so looking down the part, we should be able to see whether it's got curvature or whether it's dead straight. This is looking pretty good. So I'm just going to do this other one. So the principle is that we've got this little gap that runs down the length of the rail, and that's what a bearing sits in. One of these nylon bearings sits in, and that's why it needs to be as straight as possible, because it's a bearing rail. Now one of the issues with using a laser cut plastic part is you can get little serrations from the laser cutting. So I'm just going to smooth the edges of this of both of these rails off by using a little bit of 180 grit sandpaper, using our straight edge again, and sanding it until I can't feel that serration anymore. And you put pressure progressively down, and move your hand progressively down the part as you're doing it, just so that you can evenly distribute the pressure on the part. Now it's feeling pretty smooth. There's a little bit of serration still there and there. But this is from the inconsistency of the laser cut itself. But last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the serration off that inner edge that the bearing sits upon or locks into, and I'll take that sandpaper, lock it on the edge here, and I'm just going to lock that in there, and at 45 degrees just give it a couple of wipes, and that's pretty good. You'll feel those serrations come off really easily. You can run your fingernail down on that inside, and if you still feel some serration, give it just one more little tweak. The last thing I'm going to do to these is just on this corner again, just pop that in at 45 degrees in the end here, and just give that a little sand. It's just to knock a little, just knocks a little V into that end there, and that helps guide the rail onto the next bearing. It only needs to be very small, so don't overdo it. So before we put the whole module together, we've just got one little task to do with the base plate, and that's to tap these M5 holes here. Now in your kit you'll have one of these tapping jigs set up for an M5 tap, and you will have bought hopefully an M5 tap to use. So just make sure that fits through there. Now these are really important to get nice and straight. I'm just going to lock that tap in there. I'm going to do these ones by hand just because the slower the better for this. And I might even just clear that swarf with a backwards turn there too. Now that that's done, I'm just going to glue some of these magnets in place. And before I do that, I'm going to take the magnet and just rough up one of the sides. Now it's actually really important that the magnets go on in the same orientation. So stack them up like this, and when you take that off the pile, just make sure that they're all sitting up the right side, that we're going to just rough up the bottom. If you get the poles of the magnets the wrong way around, it's not going to work. So I've just roughed that up a little bit. Looks a little bit textured there. I'm going to take some of this super glue. I like the Loctite 401. It's a little bit expensive, but it is excellent glue. I'm just going to put one little dab in the middle of the set of little concentric circles that are etched into the part, and just give the magnet a little bit of a wipe to clean off any dust, and take that roughed up side, just pop that on there. Now it will likely slide around until it grabs, so just get it in position first and then press down firmly for a few seconds. Now that should be stuck. I'm going to repeat that with these again, sliding this off so that it's in the same orientation. You can test that by seeing if it sticks to that magnet. The magnet's done. Now I'm just going to take these M5 button heads and just screw them in place. We're going to actually need a little bit of thread locker in there eventually, but we'll go through that in another video. That should look like that. Now eventually we are going to take this other magnet and glue it in place on the back here. But for the moment, we'll do that when we're assembling the whole machine. So for the moment, I'm just going to pop that like this through there. The magnet's going to hold that little bolt in place. So we've got an M3 by 20 bolt there. Just going to pop that in place like this. Screw that all the way down there. That's for your end stop. It's a striker for the limit switch. And I'll take these, just lock them in place. Now this is all going to have to be adjusted anyway later on down the track, so we'll just lightly tighten those. And the part is done.